This is the Mershman Seeds Ag Weather Advisor Weekly Weather Briefing, July 20th, 2019. Well, it's certainly been hot across a large part of the nation. You can see here how far the extent of the heat and humidity is at the current time across the Midwest and even across the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast U.S. Now, it's not just the daily high temperature, the maximum heat index that we refer to all the time, but it's also the low temperature. This is the low temperature departure from normal this morning. It's 15 to 20 degrees warmer for the morning low than is normal. So that really makes a difference too. Especially in masonry buildings, they just can't release that heat, and that causes a lot of problems with fatalities for those folks that live in those buildings. Over the last week, you can see the track real clearly here of Barry. Brought a lot of heavy rain up in this region. Brought some into the eastern Corn Belt, but not a whole lot. Didn't bring much at all to Kansas and the western Corn Belt. The rainfall here in the upper Midwest, this is due to jet stream energy. So the two rainfall mechanisms have been Barry and then the jet stream energy up to the north. But Barry certainly brought some high dew points. I saw some yesterday up near 80. Looks like mid 70s this morning, and that's very, very muggy, low-level air, and that combines with that heat, and that's what's giving us the very high heat index readings. So temperatures were well above normal across the Corn Belt last week. You can see anywhere from 2 degrees on the low side, but mainly between 4 and 6 degrees, and that's a weekly average. Across Kansas, a bit cooler. You can see a little bit below normal across Kansas and Missouri, and also Oklahoma and Arkansas. So we are beginning to merge back closer to normal as far as soil moisture. I've talked about this the last number of weeks. The area in blue, we still have some really high soil moisture in parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. Everywhere else, we're trending back pretty close to normal, and we're getting more and more into summertime variability. So some areas are going to be really saturated, other areas quite dry. We still have this pocket here of drier soil moisture, but there will be some thunderstorms in this area, so hopefully that'll bring us back a little bit closer to normal. But the big story has been this ridge of high pressure over a large part of the nation. Here's your jet stream energy over the upper Midwest, and that's typical, very strong and severe storms, a lot of severe weather in this band. That's when severe weather usually occurs in the upper Midwest this time of year, and you can see the storm reports, wind reports, and that's sort of typical. This was on Friday, right in this region. So as we go forward, big changes ahead, and what we see here is we see this ridge of high pressure pushing off to the west, and then we have a dip in the jet stream over the east, and what that's going to do is bring some much cooler air. It's going to break the heat wave. I've been talking about that for a while. It's going to break the heat wave late this weekend and definitely be felt next week through most of the week. Matter of fact, this animation goes through the next 14 days, and you can see it's actually most of the next 2 weeks. So the heat's pushing off to the west, and it looks like really, especially in week 1, noticeably cooler weather. Week 2, we might merge a little bit back to normal, but overall, just no signs of the return of this hot weather once it breaks early this week. And there's some timing. This is on Sunday. It gives you an idea where the cold front is. We're going to have some strong thunderstorms along this boundary. Hopefully we'll get some needed rain in spots. Like I said, this area is dry. Hopefully we'll get some needed rain. Gives you some idea. But overall, it looks pretty spotty. It doesn't look real widespread, so some pockets of rainfall in the 2 inches of rain. I'm sure it'll be locally heavier right along that boundary, but it's going to be spotty and more variable. Okay, so 6 to 10 and 8 to 14, you can see even as we go through the 8 to 14, really no signs of excessive heat, near normal temperature. So week 1 below normal, week 2 probably trending back closer to normal. It looks fairly dry, so I think maybe the concern now is, do we get enough moisture as far as rainfall? But the good news, as you know, is because of that wet spring now, subsoil moisture is adequate, and hopefully the crop is tapping into that, beginning to tap into that, and hopefully that's helping. So we look at the threats this week. the weather threats, well, not as much risk for severe storms over the next couple days as we saw yesterday on Friday, but you can see right with that front sagging south, chance of some strong storms. This yellow is saying this is Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Chance of some heavy downpours as well. So I think the big weather story is cooler weather. We've gone through a number of days here with high heat and humidity, heat index 100 to 110, maybe even a few degrees higher in spots. But it looks like a cool down right around the corner, and that's going to extend definitely through the next week, perhaps week 2. No sign of high heat coming back anytime soon, at least through the rest of July, maybe even into early August. That's this week's briefing. I think it's good news overall. Have a great week.